Welcome everybody to yet another Power Query video. What you're seeing right here is a completely different table from the one we have been using in the last 3 tutorials. So what this table is very similar to the table that we have been working with, in the sense that, let's go back to it, right here, in the sense that it also has an empty header, in the sense that it gets one new column with every month, in the sense that the very last column is also called last updated, together with a certain month in which it was last updated, but with the difference that instead of showing returns and product IDs, the sales one shows sales and a customer ID. So even though they have quite a lot of similarities, my first instinct is, maybe we can reduce this M code to fix both tables. There are some things that are going to prevent us from doing that. And today we're going to address the second custom M query that we're going to be building, and that is these unpivot other columns. Now, in my previous video, I showed you how to get to here, and we also tackled this remove last updated function. So if this looks unusual or you don't know what happened in there, just feel free to check the other tutorials. Now for today, we are going to be tackling exclusively these unpivot other columns. What we have right here is an unpivoting command. So for those of you that are not very familiar with the concept, it is basically when you have one column per month and you want to put all of the months under the same column. Just essentially taking a wide table and making it a long table. That's really just the gist of it. The problem right here, if you check the code, is that it is expecting a product ID. And sure, I could make this a variable, but then I need to know what exactly I'm expecting for, and that's something that I have to fill out manually. So what if I tell this, please unpivot everything that is just essentially not a month? How will we go towards that? Well, in order to accomplish this, let's create a completely new variable here. Once again, I'm going to be creating the column names. Very simple command. In reality, it's probably one of the ones I use the most. What it does is it just returns a list of all of the column names, really. And I can just find this list in here. So my column names in this case, because I already removed one, is just the months plus the word product ID. And we know that these months are gonna keep on growing. So what we could do is, well, let's use another trick, which is called list difference. So firstly, let's create a list with list of months. And in here, I could create it manually. To create a list in M, it's just using curly brackets and then adding all of the elements. But I already created this so that I wouldn't have to type it in front of you. I'm going to copy and paste this list that I already created. And now we have a list with all of the months that looks like this. So we know that regardless of when in the year I'm going to get this table, I'm always going to have a month that is included in this list. Now the only thing that we just have to do between these two tables is what you call the list difference. So list difference. What is the difference between these two lists? And for that, there is this command called list difference, very convenient. And the first argument is a list, in this case the list of my column names, and the second one is the list of months. Yeah, there it is. I will add a comma. And now if I check this list difference, it's gonna give me here the product ID and also the month of May, which tells me I probably didn't do something correctly. Let's check. I forgot to include the month of May. That's very good, very useful. Let's try it once again now with the month of May. Check once again here the list difference, and now we are only getting the product ID. So anything that is not a month, in here is product ID. But remember that in the sales table is going to be customer ID. So things are becoming a bit more interesting. Now what I can do is you can either keep these variables right here like they are, but this is going to make it a bit more difficult for people to read if they're only focusing here on the applied steps. Leaving those variables step by step tends to be really useful for people that are reading the query directly. But because you never know what's the situation, regardless of you decide, you can either decide to keep it like this, or one thing that is very common is you decide to nest this into just one command. So that's not a problem. We have here remove last update, everything works, but instead of this hard-coded product ID, we want, remember once again, the list difference between these two lists. And because we are nesting these lists for the sake of readability, I just have to change. So here this one goes, and now this is a process in which a lot of errors tend to happen. I really wish there would be something a bit nicer for us to work with in the M language, but for now this is the thing that we'll have to do. So what I just did is I just nested everything so that when I click on done, let's hope for no errors. Good, no errors. When I click on done and I look at the applied steps, I only see these unpivoted other columns, which as a matter of fact, we should probably rename it as unpivoted months, and also rename it here unpivoted months, just to give it some more clarity. Oh, I think I forgot an S. That's not a problem. And that's it. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that you learned something today about making your Power Query work a bit more reusable. In the next video, we are going to properly take this script right here and adapt it so that it also works in Excel. So stay tuned and see you in the next video.